rest of our program. Calling to the podium at this time, Reverend Dr. Granger Browning, the senior pastor of Ebenezer AME Church in Fort Washington, Maryland. He is also a board member of Rainbow Push Coalition. And following his remarks, he shall bring to the podium Jonathan Jackson, who's the spokesperson for the Rainbow Push Coalition. Let's receive them at this time.
Can the church say amen? It is my honor and blessing to introduce those of us who were alive in 1984 before Reverend Jackson came out onto the stage of the Democratic National Convention. He first had his family to come out. And at that time, for most of us, it was the first time we had seen a black family in a political setting come out in that manner. And the pride that we had as African Americans, not only with Reverend Jackson running, but to see his family come out and be presented in such a way, it was a blessing to all of us. And now, some 30 years later, we thank the Lord that Jonathan Jackson has been by his father's side ever since. And for many of us, for the last 50 years, there's been no one that God has used more in the area of social justice and social action across this world than Reverend Jesse Jackson. The blood of Dr. King fell on him in 1968, but the mantle of God fell upon him in 1968. And since that time, God has used him as a prophetic voice across this world. And we thank the Lord for his son that has been by his side every step of the way. He is an accomplished businessman, but soon and very soon, he might be elevated to be a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so right now, can you put your hands together for the son that has been by his father's side, Jonathan Jackson, who is the spokesperson of Rainbow Push.
I'd like to say a very special thank you to my friend Dr. Granger Browning, and welcome to all of you in attendance today, and also giving memory to Mr. Granville T. Woods. Granville T. Woods is not a name that you oftentimes hear about, but indeed it was also called the Black Thomas Edison, if you can imagine that. We've been in the telecommunications our entire history in this country. He's also known as being the father of communications, having created the multiplex system for the induction on telecommunications. As we sit here today talking about the telecommunications industry, this is second only to slavery in the most profitable industry America has ever created, the communications. And so, in wrapping up, in the beginning there was the Word. We need communications in the utmost and in the highest fashion so that we can find out what is going on in Baltimore, what is happening in Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, Houston. We're now still in the battle of our century. And oftentimes when I hear people see my father in the airport, they said, Reverend, yeah, I'm with you, but back in the civil rights days, as my father shakes their hand and keeps a polite smile on his face, and as he walks away, he's shaking his head, saying, what do they mean back in the civil rights days? We are under Dr. Janice Mathis, the most ferocious civil rights attacks that we've been under since the slavery days. The question is, when are you going to join? When will you be a part of fighting for civil rights today? So although we've seen these great documentaries and pictures on the wall, that the film is still running, and we need some new people to join to be a part. We need to look forward to having your image, young people, on the wall, not reading about others in history and the accomplishments that they've made. As we talk about opening up the cloud for cloud storage, where are we in the investment space and the opportunities to be a part of cloud storage? As we talk about fiber optic lines and lines that are going around the world, as we talk about extraterrestrial satellites, as we talk about owning cellular and wireless stores, my God, as we talk about being able to repair our cracked iPhone and Samsung screens, Where are the African American entrepreneurs that have the cell phone stores? Now I'm going to sit down and let my father speak, but please don't put me to sleep on this. This is a new industry, ladies and gentlemen. What we know about telecommunications, on wireless technology, our children are experiencing something a generation has never experienced before, on screen disease. Looking at the screen so much that their minds neurologically are being changed. They can't tell real life from 2D and haven't even gotten into 3D. We're still at 4G, and 5G is about to be deployed, and it's not being deployed equally in our neighborhoods. If you make a concentric circle around an urban center, will the speed in Virginia and DC and the Southeast be the same? Moving along, I would like to say it is my privilege and my pleasure to be here. Not on this program, but having been inserted. And we have ministers, so you know in the Baptist tradition we can feel something. But in the beginning there was the Word, and I say it's a privilege and a pleasure not only to have the distinction and the honor of having Reverend Jackson as my father. I thank God for the gift of having him as my father, and I thank God for every year and every day of his life he can look back that he tried to make a difference. And without further ado, the creator of the Wall Street Project, the creator of this telecom project, the inviter of all of the guests today on behalf of the Rainbow Push Coalition, its founder, my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Mr. Ceremonies today, we thank you so much today for your inspiring words. I want to express my thanks to Attorney Janice Mathis, the National Council of Legal Women, one of the founding organizations of the Civil Rights Struggle, who grew up in Rainbow Push, and I grew up in the household. My father was my guiding light during our labor to the college, and also Coach Joseph David Mathis, their mom, represented to the Mathis family. I want to, at the outset, introduce you to our Chief Operating Officer. And there's a critical role in our expansion. Juanita Parker, raise your hand. The man who's pulling this luncheon together today is Bishop Stephen Smith. Bishop Smith. National Political Director somewhere here is what is he? Shelley Davis. Give Shelley Davis a hand, please. Our Founding Principal Director, Brother Axel Adams. If I missed somebody that I should have introduced, I'm sorry. Let me say this to you today, that this is a great moment for us to bring on our special guest we are going to honor today. We have a real challenge in this season of Bishop Hicks theologically. This struggle is not just about, I read something about flesh and blood. It's not about private piety. It's about structures of wickedness in high places, powers and principalities and politics. If we have found this industry, why we so fortunate, why we founded it, never can be found. What's going on? What we're trying to do, man, is we're trying to get 1,000 churches. One of those empty Sunday school rooms and put 20 to 30 laptop computers in there to teach our children apps and codes. Teach them stock market, came in financial literacy. They can look up the scripture on social media. Am I right about that? We want church to commit yourselves to build into your infrastructure, your Sunday school, your training union, and encourage parents this Christmas to not just get a ball, also get a laptop for Christmas. So when I last January the 1st, and all them toys torn up, we want 1,000 churches around the country. We got building Silicon Valley. They're going to India and to China to get what they call B1 workers, getting students to fill out the dimensions of technology. There's nothing that students in India, in Asia, do that we cannot do. But what they do well is their priority. We prioritize basketball well and football well, and we do that well. And so I want us to think through what we leave in these workshops today, and I think tonight, tomorrow, think through how can your church, it may be 10 computers as opposed to 30, maybe 50, maybe 5. They teach our children in the way to have them go, teach them the science of the stage. Gentlemen, so this is the 4th stage of our struggle. The first stage was to end legal slavery, 246 years. No other immigrant group has known this dimension of American experience, 246 years of legal slavery. Stage 1, stage 2 was the Jim Crow stage, more violent than slavery because at least in slavery there was an interest in make a little slaves. We had no power. But once we got the right to vote, to deter the voting power, 5,000 blacks were lynched between 1880 and 1940 without one indictment. We didn't have the right to vote. The third stage was the right to vote. Last week in Virginia, big celebration about how the white women pulled Baltimore through. They got voters' revenge because they put Trump in. 61% of white women voted for Trump. They got some revenge, but the fact of the matter is, which I didn't hear Brother Hicks, is that 1 of 5 voters in Virginia were African American last week. 1 of 5. I couldn't jump up on that because the winner won with 1,000,004 to 800,000 blacks eligible in Virginia, 600,000 registered. Now, if we had voted our weight, we were 1 out of every 2 would have been African Americans. So we have not earned the right to do less than our best and expect the best. It's a sin not to vote. If it's a sin, if God gives you a blessing, you don't say thank you. That's a sin, I think. So if God gives you a blessing, you don't say thank you. That's a sin. If God gives you a way out, you don't use it. You reject God's blessing. That's a sin too. Y'all can work on that. It's a sin. It's just a sin to want Medicaid and not vote. It's a sin to want more scholarships and not vote. Like sin, like hell going sin, like bad sin, like bad stuff. 1,000 churches. Every age must, to the 4th stage of our struggle, the 4th stage, beyond slavery, beyond Jim Crow, beyond the right to vote, is access to capital, industry, technology, and deal flow. You can be out of slavery, out of Jim Crow, have the right to vote, and starve to death without access to capital, industry, technology, and deal flow. That's the stage we're in. We're in that state. So we're not saying we must train our children to master the science of this age. We don't want young blacks to learn to speak Spanish. So 2/3 of the hemisphere speaks Spanish. English is a minority language in that hemisphere. The English is a minority language in the hemisphere. Anybody should be able to speak to their next door neighbor. English is a great language, but Jesus did not speak it.
Wow.
So this English only crowd, and they get this theology correct too, Reverend.
He's supposed to be your king. You're gonna try to tell people to vote.
Church
Crazy.
Monday through Saturday, not just
Crazy
church
as
on
hell.
Sunday. One reason why I'll at the very end bring on my pastor in this area, Reverend H.B.C. Hicks, is that his father was a serious preacher in Columbus, Ohio. I believe in shout. I believe in shout. That we have something to shout about. Shouting is like gravy, but all gravy needs a meat base, or just grease of water. You can't just be shouting for the hell of it. You got to say gravy needs a meat base, or just grease of water. And when Reverend Hicks, when these guys preach, they give me some meat, something to shout on, reflect on, think through. Am I here by myself? So if you leave here today with some more meat, then you got some shout. I once was ignorant, now I'm informed. Once was lost, now I'm found. Y'all get that one. And by the way, on the stuff like this, I can't miss what she would bring up, I guess, about this knee violence stuff. I want to make sure that somebody, before we leave, they go to your Google and get the 3rd verse of the Star Spangled Banner. You know, it was written by a slave master, Francis Scott Key. 3rd verse, he glorified slavery. They don't say but 2 verses. It talks about the hireling and the slave going to be buried in the grave. Somebody going to get it right now. Right? Since y'all into this technology business, I ain't there yet, but I understand it. The 3rd verse, there was the 3rd verse, the 3rd verse. It talks about the hiring of the blacks who joined the Canadian forces to fight for freedom. He said kill them too. That makes land of the free and home of the brave. That's a song of desecration. Since when it's bound, if they was burning the flag, I could understand that being a protest, but bowing knee and free with the Pruner Bridge and Selma, I think. So bowing on one knee to ask God for the flag to honor its promise is legitimate. Now we're going to honor here now Bishop Easterling, Dr. Kevin Daniels, Dr. Howard John Wesley. They're my pastor. Bishop Shirley Easterling, come forward, please. Give her a hand. Give her a big hand. The bishop, we honor you because you preach and make sense at the same time. That ain't common. All right. Dr. Kevin Daniels, Global Fellow of the International Institute of Integral Human Services. He's pastor St. Martin Church of God in Christ. Dr. Kevin Daniels. Just look like old preacher on Dr. Howard John Wesley, Afro Street Man. And last but not least, my pastor, so many years ago, he was preaching at that Aberrant Church in Pittsburgh. We were together on the Sunday morning in Houston, Texas. Well, in his study, we got the word that Mrs. King, Dr. King's mother, been killed in the pulpit. Lieutenant came here to Washington, built made a great church greater. Profound and serious preacher who brings in a meat base with a serious trained mind who sees around the curve. He does not settle for slogans and things. A serious preacher. Give him a hand, please. He used to have words for all of us. Our speaker for this occasion brings to us a great body of wisdom and integrity. Serious pastor, profound preacher. Brother beloved, Brother H. B.J. Give us Brother H. B.J.
Yeah, good.
For the opportunity to speak to this gathering of persons who, by nature and by every power grown man, are willing and ready to deal with critical issues that face the African American community today. I recognize, of course, that I've been asked to give a word in this hour, but I think that something's already preached. I'm going to need your patience for just a moment. We'll open God's word and see what God has to say to us. Call your attention to the prophecy of Isaiah. In the 21st chapter, 11th and 12th verse. This is what it says. Burden of Duma, calleth to me out of sea, watching one of the night, watching one of the night. The morning comes, and also the night. I want to talk about a simple question, just a simple question. For those of us who are or seek to be analysts of contemporary culture, it is rather easy, if not convenient, to conclude that these are perilous times. In fact, so perilous are these times that one hardly knows whom to believe, whom to trust, or when looking down the corridor against the path, or examining the future that is yet to come. One can hardly imagine just what the end will be. Said more succinctly in the classic play titled Green Pastures, the Lord sums it up with this line. Everything was fastened down, breaking loose. These are perilous times. And so something strange is afoot. See, as if the culture is caught in chaos. Time-honored values appear to have been abandoned. Our music has fallen prey to vile language, crude rap, and great lines. Even the church now appears to have been forsaken. And if the Bible is to be taught, it will be taught in light of what's trending on social media. Preachers are no longer necessary. Authentic prophets seem no longer to exist. All you need to know can be found on Twitter. Or better yet, send your questions electronically to Google. Just ask Siri. Nothing is sacrosanct anymore. Marijuana is legal. Marry whom you wish. There's no more sin. So perilous are these times. As one theologian has suggested, now may be the time to abandon belief, and instead we must teach our dogma to dance. To be clear, they tell me that we must not be trapped by yesterday's dogma or yesterday's teaching, which is, after all, nothing more than living with the result of other people's thinking. David, in his 11th Psalm, raised the pivotal question for us. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Some years ago, Dr. Charles Booth, Mount Olivet Church in Columbus, Ohio, held a preaching conference whose theme was prophetic preaching in an age of apostasy. What that means is that it appears we have abandoned those ideals that used to hold us together. It means that we have somehow set aside basic beliefs and core principles. That is the reason we have spawned a generation that will believe anything, do anything, and then pin its hopes on a kind of syncretistic religion that ultimately will create a non-religion for personal convenience that will not help us live in this world and will send us all on a fast track to hell in the next. It is clear and without question that ours is a world that is shattered and broken. All of this, of course, is the reason the prophet Isaiah raises this poignant inquiry. That is the focus of the 21st chapter of his writing. The time of Isaiah's writing is far and away from the contemporary mind, and yet it should not be so. So let me help you unravel the peculiarities of this text. Isaiah found himself in the year 689 BC, and his world was in a shambles. Just as we do, Isaiah lived in perilous times. Babylonians are under attack by the Assyrians. And you must recall that this is an oracle addressed to Duma, found elsewhere in the Old Testament to designate an Arabian tribe descended from Ishmael. More properly then, when the scripture refers to Duma, it should more correctly be identified as Edom or Idumea. Consequently, the designation of the oracle as intended for Seir is also inaccurate, as Seir is but another designation for the Edomite nation. It was then the hope then of the surrounding nations that Babylon would defeat the Assyrian aggressors from the north. Babylon, however, fell to the Assyrian, and all the surrounding nations knew that Assyria would not stop until the entire region was under their domination. Sounds like Syria and Iraq and Russia and North Korea and ISIS all rolled into one. More to the point, there was fear that under an atmosphere of terrorism, of war, soon Israel would be attacked. This was the critical moment when God spoke a word to Isaiah the prophet. Prophet of God, I have an assignment for you. Prophet of the living God, I have a work that I need to put in your hands. Prophet of Jah, Yahweh, Elohim, and Jehovah, no one else can do this for me but you. Prophet of God, I need you to take on this assignment as watchman. I know folk have been calling you prophet and preacher, but I need to be a watchman. Here's the problem. The nation is in trouble. The nation is in peril. The reality is our world is shattered and broken. And the nation is about the business of planning to build some walls. Walls that will be hard to breach. And walls that will be stout and thick and fortified. Walls. There's a fellow that lives just down the street. He wants walls. Walls that are nearly impossible to scale. Walls that will ensure the people that they are safe just because they are huddled inside and protected by their walls. Now the problem is, Isaiah, that fellow down the street just wants to bring all his friends and all his neighbors inside his wall.
His lottery ticket
He
went.
wants to gather unto themselves the folk that look like them. So you see, this is not a wall problem, it's a skin problem. Too much color coming across the border. Speaking a language we do not understand. It's a skin problem. It's because of the skin that they don't want to bring anybody else in. They call it an immigration problem. The problem here is that everybody is an immigrant. Some of the folk behind the wall are here because they wanted to be, but most are here because they were compelled to be. When they put me on that slave ship and brought me across the Middle Passage, that was an immigration problem. The problem is that the folk inside of the walls are afraid of the revolution that may be coming on the outside of the wall. But you, Isaiah, you need to know what's happening inside and outside of the wall. I need to know what's happening on both sides of the wall. I need to know because you never know what happens until you have a watchman. You cannot be sure of what's going on until you have a source of information. There is a communication need here. We need to find some way to find what's going on. I need a watchman. I have an all-seeing eye, but I need a watchman. And I say, I've chosen you to be my watchman. There is nothing that can escape the expanse of my vision, but right now I need a watchman, and I have one simple question. Watchman, what of the night? What of the night? Let me help you understand. In ancient times, the fond hope of anyone was to live within a walled city. The walls of the city provided a level of protection and comfort that not everyone could enjoy, the equivalent of our suburbs and exurbs today. The walls of that day provided a barrier against harm and danger. But that which gave the wall importance was that at the top of the wall, at every turn, at every intersection, stood a watchman. On the north, south, east, and west, there stood a watchman. You know, of course, that the watchman had a dual function and purpose. The watchman's job was to look out over the landscape as far as his eyes could see, there to discover danger on the horizon. While the city slumbered, while the nation slept, a watchman stood guard, watching. The watchman's task was to look beyond natural barriers, to see in the far distance what others could not see. This was not a matter of politics. This was a matter of survival. It was a matter of life and death. So the watchman is always looking for some enemy, perhaps moving with stealth and incremental steps toward the city through the gloom of night. Looking for some robber or thief, making his way to steal the financial assets of the city. Looking to see for some unknown and unnamed brigand whose sole purpose would be to take from the city its sense of safety and to snatch from its citizens their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The primary task of the watchman then was to alarm the city. In the dead of night, the watchman would alarm the city without fear or apprehension. Perhaps the watchman would blow his trumpet, sound the alarm, or perhaps to cry out with his voice, "Awake! This is no time for slumber. Awake! The enemy is at the gate. He brandishes the sword of death. Awake! There is no gun control. The adversary has weapons, automatic weapons, life-stealing weapons that will kill you on the street corner or in your church. Either way, you're dead. The water supply of your cities may be infused with lead that will stunt your children's growth, and to your cities bring death and not life. Again, I say, because the enemy is coming, you need a watchman. But that, my friends, is only part of this story. The task of the watchman was not only to look to the distances outside of the city, but to look inside the city. The watchman's view was not limited to the external. His view was toward the internal as well. The task of the watchman was not only to see the danger without, but to see the danger within. The problem that the city and the nation must face was to protect the city and the nation from the enemies they could not see, but also to protect them from the enemies that live next door. My fear is not from some foreign radical Islamist terrorist over there. My fear is from some urban terrorist from Upper Marlboro who lives down the street. Nevertheless, the reality is that whether outside or inside, external or internal, there is a real danger upon us, and someone must sound the alarm. Let me remind you again that these are perilous times, and God needs more than a preacher. God needs more than a prophet. God needs a watchman, aware, alert, and awake. God needs a watchman who is unafraid to look and even look death in the face, and to see as well the danger that is close at hand. And just in case you and I are that watchman that God is calling for in what the old folk used to call these last and evil days, God has a question for you. Watchman, what of the night? In response to the Edomites' question, this is Isaiah's answer: the morning cometh, and also the night. I do not know just how you interpret these words, but it appears to me that the text suggests that those who would be watchmen or watchwomen will first be assigned to the night shift. Don't be confused. Don't get it twisted. Your work is significant, because whether you know it or not, we have been called, you and I have been called, and your ministry from this day forward will be on the night shift. And did I tell you this is the night shift? We thought our work was done. No, this is just the night shift. We thought we had finally walked enough. The Edmund Pettus Bridge is sign and symbol that we have overcome. No. This is just the night shift. Just down the street there sits a man who cares nothing at all about you or me, who can only